Now, let's get the heartbreaking one out of the way. The one that got me. It almost when they're like, never meet your heroes type of thing. We have the arrest of Austin St. John, in my opinion, best Red Ranger in Power Rangers. I am biased. I'm a OG bias. Whatever the first version of something was, I generally tend to say that's my favorite. So he was arrested. This is the first time I'm doing like I said, I'm going to borrow from people I like. D-Fran does this kind of thing. So I'm kind of borrowing this format from the legend himself, D-Fran. So this is from TMZ. I was also reading some articles at Entertainment Weekly and Hollywood Reporter, but they all kind of say the same thing. But Red Power Ranger actor Austin St. John arrested for COVID fraud. Massive FBI raid, guns drawn. So in reading this, and then I'll get to the update, he essentially, with a bunch of other people who he claims to not know, we'll find out later, they all were arrested for essentially making either fake businesses or using existing businesses to collect COVID relief funds. And in the case of Austin St. John, he allegedly got 16 loans totaling $3.5 million, which he used for personal purchases and not for the intended purchase. So even if it was used for the intended purpose, the feds claim it was obtained fraudulently. Now, I know what a lot of us probably are thinking, and that's, well, everybody got stuff out of the relief funds and everybody got the checks, whether they needed them or not. Like, what makes this different? It just does. I mean, when you're a celebrity, in any way, shape, or form, if you screw up, it's going to be front page. Even though they may have caught many other people doing this, it's going to be front page. And the sad part is, I feel like a lot of these child stars, and I mean, he was 18 when he, did Power Rangers, from a previous interview I watched, but all these child stars eventually run into this wall, it seems like. And maybe saying all is a stretch, but I feel like so many of them run into an issue that it just seems like it's a majority. It's probably a very small amount, but they all hit this wall, and it's always sad to see. It's like, who's the next one, right? Like, who's the next one that's going to OD or get arrested with DUIs or all these kinds of things. And I think what makes it suck more is Power Rangers is in such a nostalgia resurgence that it sucks that somebody has to still be involved in something like this. Like, you would assume already he was making money doing appearances and Comic-Cons. He's been on Dino Thunder, Dino Charge. He's even back on the show doing guest spots. One would assume you didn't need to do this. But everybody's got bills. Life happens. So it sucks. So that was on Thursday. Now, his Instagram account posted a press release, if you would. And, I'll just read it out to you. Austin St. John is a father, husband, role model, and friend to many. The indictment detailed today is populated by a multitude of individuals, the majority of which Austin has no knowledge of and has never met or interacted with. It is our understanding that Austin put his faith, reputation, and finances in the hands of third parties whose goals were self-centered and ultimately manipulated and betrayed his trust. We expect Austin's legal team to successfully defend against these charges and lead to his ultimate exoneration. We ask that you respect the privacy of Austin's family in light of this serious situation, and thank you for your support. Now, what they're conveying here is that he wasn't the one specifically applying for these loans. That whoever runs his I don't even know if at that point you're like an LLC, if you're just like a star like that, but for lack of a better phrase here, we'll just say his brand. So whoever's running his brand, apparently applied for these loans on his behalf to get him money. And he's saying he had no knowledge of this. Of course, this seems very weird because if all of a sudden you're getting money while everything's shut down, you're not doing appearances, you're not doing autograph signings, you're not doing photos, one would say, hey, where's this money coming from? And then if you truly did not want to be a part of this, you would flag it somehow. But alas, you got bills, family, life. So sometimes you just turn a blind eye, and it sucks. Now, what I know what you're probably thinking, or probably what you thought when this was announced, and we'll get to that. But something funny that came out of it, and messed up at the same time. They used a picture in this was the Daily Mail of Steve Cardana. I never know how to say his name right. Is it Cardana? Cardanas? They used a picture of him in the article that they wrote about that. And he actually had he's not involved in this whatsoever. He was the replacement ranger when Austin St. John actually walked off the show. But it was just funny that they used a picture of him from the movie of all things, which Austin St. John's not in, to to say that he was arrested and all that. But coming to his aid, coming to his rescue, is the legend himself, Jason David Frank. Actually, here is also Hillary Shepard was the villain Divatox in what was that? Turbo. So she also jumped in there, saying that they used this photo for people. But Jason David Frank, you should sue them. Wait, you're on there, Steve. I'll fix this, blah, blah, blah. But that was the question that I had, you probably had, was what's Jason David Frank going to say about this? Because if you don't know, Jason David Frank and Austin St. John have kind of been butting heads over the years. Now, in the show, they butted heads originally, became friends, and then eventually Jason leaves the team. Jason, the character, leaves his team. Tommy takes over as the White Ranger. So, we remember that as a show, but it turns out in real life there also was this like rivalry. So I was curious. I feel like the world of Power Ranger fans were curious. And shout out to my boy Steve. He actually sent me a video of a live stream that Jason David Frank was doing. See, the allergies are starting to kick in. He sent me a video that Jason David Frank was doing a live stream. He actually made some comments on it, which I found very, very interesting. So let's give that a watch real quick.
I want you to watch that for one reason. Watch his whole interview and watch how he literally just hates me. Watch my interview on Comics Coliseum. And when you watch it, tell me now's the opportunity where I could jab. And I'm not going to. Here's what I'm going to tell you. When this comes out and he talks, forgive him. Straight up. People make mistakes. Certain people know how he is and all. Yeah, I'm too nice. It's just the way it is. Forgive him. Make your own judgments. Do not let it destroy your childhood dreams of Power Rangers, okay? We all make mistakes. Thank you for telling me it's time's up. Now, with that.
Now, I found that super, super interesting because, Jason David Frank, in my opinion, he paved the way when it comes to embracing the nostalgia, embracing the resurgence of Power Rangers. And he was the first one he may not have been the first one to do autograph signings, 15, 20 years later after Power Rangers, but he was the first one to become like a superstar off of it in the comic world, in the Comic-Con world, if you would. Separate from, I just had his name in my head, Adam the Black Ranger. Tell me in the comments, Bosch, right? Something Bosch, John Young Bosch. So John Young Bosch was famous in the like anime con world because he voices a lot of anime characters, but that's where the fame in that was coming from. Whereas Jason David Frank was becoming famous because he was just like, hey, Power Rangers is dope. All of you kids, you're adults now. Remember me? Let's take a picture together. Like, he embraced the whole thing. So even there, as you see, his background, like, he fully embraces Power Rangers. Like, he embraces the past there and has made tons of money doing so and embracing it. And it took a while for some of the other Rangers to start actually doing that. And I feel like Austin St. John was one of the ones that held off the longest and just not doing anything. Now, Amy Jo Johnson also tried to distance herself, eventually turned around. She was in the movie with Jason David Frank, like doing a cameo, a terrible movie. But the Red Ranger, Austin St. John, I feel like he was really trying to hold off, and eventually he goes all in. Now, I was curious, though. I was like, why is it that they do hate each other so much? Like, why is this feud a thing? So I actually looked up the interview that Jason David Frank was referring to, and this was done over at Coliseum Forum, Coliseum of Comics, if you would. And we're not going to watch the whole thing. You can go check out the interview. It's actually pretty good. And you can see here that Austin has embraced the Red Ranger, all of that stuff. And it turns out that Austin and the other Rangers were severely underpaid. And that was a rumor a lot of us knew about. I feel like that's a tale as old as time when it comes to kids' TV shows, family TV shows back in the day. Allegedly making $611 a week to do the show, while the show was making billions. So he essentially, in this interview, is talking about that. And he just finished talking about how he had to room with Zach the Black Ranger in real life. Couldn't afford to help his mom pay for things, whatever. So let's jump in to see what his issue is with Jason David Frank.
It succeeded massively with the first 5. And I know that David Yost tried out to be the Red Ranger, and that didn't work out. He went back, tried out as the Blue Ranger, smashing success. I know Jason Frank tried out to be the Red Ranger, failed miserably, and they hired him later to be the Green Ranger. And then later, when I made it clear that us being non-union, the cast and the crew, in front of and behind the camera, everybody, that was unacceptable. My paycheck, all of our paycheck, we were what was called favored nations, was $611.22 per week, at least based on what I claimed in taxes. That's what mine was.
Right.
And I told everybody, I said, this is wrong. The show made $1 billion with a B the first year.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to play this game. To hell with you guys. I said, let's all.
Interesting thing also, when you watch interviews around the original Ninja Turtle movies, same thing. Judith Hogue was saying how like the stunt cast, for example, getting hurt, shipped off set, bringing a new stunt person, like really, really bad. And that's where I start to feel bad for these people, because in adulthood or as they mature, we remember the highlights. We remember the final product. But then on the other side, it's like that sad clown thing, He's there surrounded by all this merchandise that maybe now he's making money on, but back in the day, probably making garbage on it, not selling anything. To the extent that you're doing this show and you decide we need to say something, we need to stand up for ourselves because we're making so little. It's kind of that joke, like you're on the, what was it, the Joe Budden podcast, where they're like, oh no, DJ Academics was saying it. He's like, you're not a boss, you're a worker. And unfortunately, a lot of us, we're just workers. Let's continue.
All band together, let's walk off the show and convince him I didn't need to be a millionaire, but I wanted to be able to help my mom get dental care. I believed in standing up for what I believed was right. I couldn't help my mom get groceries. Right. I was living with Walter Jones, my co-star, and 2 stunt guys in a house in Glendale trying to save extra money.
Right.
Could I have lived alone? Sure. But I wanted to live with the others so I could save money.
Right.
And they wouldn't do it. And then at the end, they cut, Jason, Frank, Amy, and Dave cut a side deal, probably through Frank, where after they all promised to walk with us and band together, it was only Walter Twee and I that had the balls to stand up for what was right. And now the Frankendouche says to the world, you got to have thick skin if you're in Hollywood. Okay. Or you can have no standards.
Sure. Absolutely.
So that's it. I mean, what's interesting there too is that, you know, Jason David Frank says, dude hates my guts. Dude does not like me, but doesn't really address the point there. And I'll be frank. I don't fault Jason David Frank, Amy Jo Johnson, David Yost, if they actually did cut a deal and stay. You're young. You're 18, 19, 20. You're on a TV show. You have the opportunity now to make more money, keep riding this train. You're a celebrity. People are probably paying you just to, again, this is pre-internet and whatever, paying you to do a birthday party. I don't know, all sorts of stuff. And when your coworker's like, hey, let's just walk. It sounds great. You want to make that emotional decision. Let's do it. Let's get out of here. And then you sit down, you think about it, and you're like, I think you kind of want to write it out. So I don't fault them, but it's sad to see when all these stars eventually, they get older, these stories come out, you realize they're not the ones getting checks every time I buy something. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. But I will take Jason David Frank's word there on, you know, just wait it out. See what happens. See how the story unfolds. He could be innocent in the whole thing. Very well could be. So we will see, and I will update all of you as things happen there. He does address also, Jason David Frank, somebody comments like, oh, it's the Power Ranger curse because you've had people die. You had a Red Ranger arrested for murder from Wild Force. Where was that? I feel like I pulled that up at some point. Oh, here it is. I forgot about this one. You know, so, you know, Jason David Frank is like, no, there's no... Oh, that's so wild. This dude is 2 years older than me. I guess Wild Force did come out a lot later on, but that's crazy. He's like, there's no curse. Life happens. People make mistakes. Is what it is. So, hoping for the best. We'll see what happens, and I will keep all of you posted for sure.